Alright, looking at a JC Penney 6101. This is a Japanese made machine. It's on the bench because the stopper for the bobbin winder fell off, but it has a plastic cover, 2 screws holding it on, and a plastic knob on the buttonhole. It's side loading, so this has a lot of plastic parts, but seems to be metal for most of the functional parts. It also has a big honkin' screw holding the end on, not a door. So to get the lamp changed or to clean an oil, it's a giant head for an itty bitty screw, because this cover is plastic and it's a big flathead screw to provide a washer as well. So in the head here, it's pretty simple. The other thing I've noticed about this machine is that the tensioner stem is loose somewhere in the body. I went to turn the tensioner and yeah, the stem is just pulling out here, so I'm gonna have to get the main tension body out and figure out what happened with that. Nope, I need to, we'll get on that in a second. It's got main zigzag here, and then it has a built-in blind hem, and which is actually a plastic cam under the edge here. So you'll see when I shift it from the zigzag and buttonhole straight stitch position, it pulls this follower into position so that the plastic cam from on this side is going to push against our zigzag sector now instead of our main zigzag cam. So and then it has a stretch stitch. When you shift over to the stretch stitch, it engages this automatic reverse, which is the other part of this plastic cam here. So that plastic cam looks okay. As we can see, there's some very old and hard grease in here on this buttonhole thing, so I'm gonna have to get scrubbing that out, and I'm gonna have to finish getting this tensioner off. So like I said, the stem is just loose, but yeah, it's an interesting machine with all the plastic panels. Definitely the last of the side load machines, I think, since it's got so much plastic on it. This winder has a square tire on it, but it's about the size as the generic round tire you can find, so I'm certain that if you needed to replace the tire, you could just use a generic tire on that winder as well. Thanks to the electric toothbrush and rubbing alcohol, all that grease is off of here. And obviously this is a little dry, so Start with oil. Make sure that we get oil on everything. Especially so that so it has a chance to work in. And this is an incredibly dry machine. Keep oiling everywhere while I would let that settle in on the buttonhole dial there. And now, since that had grease on it, we will apply some super lube to replace the grease that was on there. All right. Excellent. Alright, let's get this inspected and the wires inspected and see if we can get it running and spinning. That'll help work the oil in. Alright, I got the stem out of this tensioner, and the problem that happened is that this tension body is suffering from pot metal rot. So it's the cheap white pot metal, and it is swelling up from corrosion. You can see from the back side that it started to crack out. So if I try to get this out, it's just going to shatter, and I might even damage the case trying to get this out. The way to get this tension body removed would be to cut it and break it out in pieces, and then have to clean the inside of that. And then this is going to be a pretty standard opening, so probably a Kenmore generic a lot of generic tensioners will probably fit this hole. But since I have all the pieces complete, and it just, because of that white metal rot, it let go of the stem, because the set screw holding the stem in place is loose. I can't access that set screw, but I can definitely just glue the stem in place with a little bit of JB weld in there to hold it nice and tight. And it'll work for quite a while that way, as long as nobody's cranking hard on the tensioner. Stem is back in place on this. Again, if there's any more issues with this tensioner, the barrel is just going to have to get drilled out of this case, and the whole thing's going to have to get replaced. But I'm going to assemble this. First we got this back plate that has a little finger hook on it. And then we've got a pair of tension discs. And the release pin. And we've got our cup here, and this tension cup, I did not align my stem properly. It's got a plus minus marker on it, but it's just going to be on that side because this stem is not going to move again. So we'll make sure that our marker is visible on some side, and then our little cone spring and the stop washer here that's got the tab on it to stop the dial collar from moving here, so this dial scale then goes on. And this tensioner has a plastic nut. This style of nut did appear in metal on some machines. On earlier machines, this is a late version of it since it's got the plastic in there, but there we go. Alright. And then when we need to set our scale, we'll just hold the collar in and rotate the dial in and out, or the nut in and out on the end there. So, alright. With that back in place, we can continue working on this 6101. Right, this cover is plastic. It's got this damage on the inside. I'm not sure whether that's something they had to do at the factory to make room for one of the linkages or what, but it's got nuts on the inside of the thread guides and the bobbin winder stop, and those are all loose. They're not pressed into the plastic. So I put a dab of super glue on all those just to hold the back side of those nuts, so that when we adjust the screws, those nuts will remain in place to get tightened into instead of just falling off if you unscrew it too much. I did plug this in and make sure that it runs. There. It's got a one-way switch on the lamp, so it's really just a matter of throwing everything back in and giving it a quick test. This is a side-loading machine, so it may have a creeping issue with the hook and the needle, just from wear in all the links that go between the top and bottom. But otherwise, I don't think it's going to be anything particularly exciting on that front. This is a high shank machine, which for later, I mean, side load did have high shank on them, but for one with so much plastic in it, it feels odd that it's high shank, just because most manufacturers abandon high shank pretty early, and so there just aren't a lot of machines that had plastic parts and high shanks. And then our end cover with this captured screw in it. There we go. There we go. Alright, stitch test on this 6101 with that rebuilt tensioner. See, as I tug here, I got even pressure. That's a setting I like for 4 or 5 on your tensioner, using normal weight thread and a size 14 needle. So we'll see how it goes here. I don't need it to be a real long stitch. I want it to be a zigzag. So I need to make sure that it's catching both sides here. All right, both sides are stitching fine, and it looks like the back side is a little tight because this is our bobbin thread, and our bobbin thread is pulling straight out. So I'll loosen the bobbin case a little bit, and this machine should be in good shape. I think I've mentioned before, these side loading machines and straight stitch machines use a bit more tension than front loading machines with zigzag. So the bobbin tension is always a little bit higher as well. That was about a quarter turn on the bobbin. And we'll Alright, there's our top side. There's our bottom side, and we can pull the bobbin out, but also with about the same amount. And we didn't see anything cross over, so things are good here. Excellent. Rebuilding that worked real nice.